Hey guys, this is Jody. This is the Whiskey Rebellion Barcast. This is our twice weekly, I guess it'd be 8 times monthly gathering of and shenanigans. We're just going to have a good time tonight. But hey, I am super stoked because we do have in attendance today not only David, who's finally off the mends a little bit, but we have a special guest. It's not Triple H, it's the Godfather. And we are super stoked to have Chuck here. So we're going to go straight to Chuck first and ask him what he's drinking. And welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks for having me. Tonight I'm drinking Old Carter, 13-year single barrel.
Comes in with a bang.
And comes in at 116.4 proof. And it's barrel 143 of 169, or bottle 143.
Nice.
It's basically, I would put this in the realm of a supercharged Elijah Craig barrel proof.
Oh,
So much better than Elijah Craig barrel proof, where it has so many great notes to it compared to that one, or some of those, I should say. I'd say it's right up there with GTS.
really?
Oh, wow.
However, the price tag's a little steep on it. Comes in at $199 for MSRP.
Now, do you normally find it at MR? I mean, let me put it differently. Do you normally find it in the secondary or in retail stores?
Retail stores.
So it sounds like if it's on the same level as GTS, might be something I need to go look for, because GTS is freaking-tastic, as we've talked about numerous times. It has the complexities that we talked at nauseum about the other night that I love about it, because you could have 6 different people and you'll get the same common notes that you would normally pick up, but the complexities open up, and those 6 people would pick out 6 different notes that you didn't even taste or think of, and you're like, well, I gotta have another one so I can find that, definitely if it's cherry or something like that, because cherry or strawberry, those are 2 notes that I have a hard time finding that I love, that some people pick up. But anyway, man, welcome to the show. I am so glad you're here.
Thanks very much.
Yeah. Let's go to David, since David is getting his first drink.
Yes.
In a little while.
Yeah, it's been since day before surgery. So we're coming up somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 weeks or whatever it is. So
how does your liver feel?
Healthy, too healthy, I think. So I'm back. I'm either on the wagon or off the wagon. I can't remember which one it is.
The liver is evil and must be
and
punished.
I decided to be on the smoke wagon by doing that. This is their this isn't the uncut unfiltered. This is like their sort of baseline expression, the straight bourbon. It's still very nice, and it's very affordable. Yeah, obviously, if you compared it to uncut unfiltered, and I haven't had the small batch yet to compare it to with, it's like, yeah, it's not quite as robust, this and that. It doesn't stay with you quite as long.
I've had it at my house.
The small batch?
Yes.
No, I thought I had this one at your house.
You had that one, you had the small batch, and you had the uncut unfiltered. All 3.
My memory doesn't carry that far, I guess. Anyway, so
just saying.
In recent memory, thank you for correcting me, but in recent memory, I wouldn't know a side by side with a small batch, but I did have the uncut unfiltered more recently. It's still very nice. Found it in the store for, I think it was like 28 or 30 bucks. Really, really good one if you can find it. Very much enjoying it. So yeah.
Bottling for them, when you talk about things that have been released in the past year or have become recognizable in the last year, we'll just put it that way, because I don't know when they released their first batches, but their bottling is fantastic. Like, you want to purchase all of their expressions because their bottling is.
Look at it. It's just
all of it's
that's the first thing that stood out to me, and and it was actually one of the things that made me cautious at first, because I was like, that bottle is like really slick looking. Like, is this another gimmick? Like, is this some kind of garbage? And I'm not going to
Lusty Claw.
I was getting ready to say, is it the
the lusty claw? Like, it's not quite as over the top as the Freedom Eagle screaming atop the bottle, but this is
bullet pop still level.
It looks great on a shelf, and it's even better in your glass. So
nice.
If you find it, pick it up.
Nice. All right, Billy, what are we having up there?
Well, before we get into that, I just want to say welcome to David. Welcome back.
Thanks,
and
sir.
Listen to the Godfather, Chuck himself. brother, be good to yourself.
Okay.
Corey, we're supposed to drink then.
I am having again this Lever's Fork because I'm really, 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 really enjoying it.
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to get some more because apparently the Angels decided to take more of their cut over to the UK. So that's okay though. It's for a good reason. But again, every time I have this Lever's Fork, it seems to get better and better and better. It's not that I ever think it will disappoint, but it seems like every time I taste it, I find something new with it. While I was grilling dinner out there, I had a little bit, and I was like, man, this is just fantastic. So I'm definitely gonna have to get my hands on another bottle of this pretty soon. That's for
Well,
sure.
I've got you there, but let me ask you this, because I was thinking about you today when I was listening to a whiskey podcast. And it was an older whiskey podcast that's no longer around, but it was, and it's out of England, actually. Called the Whiskey Topic, I think is what it's called. I'm pretty sure. And it's spelled with the Y and not the EY. But she was really, one of the girls on there was really, she has a horrible laugh, first of all. So if you listen to her, try to get past the first 15 minutes of her goofy ass laugh. But I mean, I'm sure if people listen to us would be like, the rest of you guys have some fucked up things about you, and then they would say all great things about me. But so I understand where that's coming from. But anyway, she was talking about the Belvini 14, and I know you're a big fan of that. So I immediately thought about that because I seen your post earlier today where it was you had posted about the Leaper's Fork while you were cooking and stuff, and I was like going, he is murdering that thing. Like he's had it like a week and a half. Like
this thing is in a headlock.
That's a straight up molestation going on of that thing. And I'm like, I mean, there might be crimes against,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a 4-year-old, so I'm glad you got that, David. Thank you.
Yeah,
I did get it, yes.
But anyway,
I think we all did, but just
Yeah.
But anyway, so when you compare the two, and I know they're vastly different and they're on different spectrums and they're different spirits and they have probably different expressions. Which one's better to you? I'm curious. I really am curious about that. Because I came out with a bold statement and said on the show when I had that it is a better pour than Blanton's just like their normal single barrel that you buy. It's definitely better than that. And I mean that. So what is your thoughts on it?
Well, when I think about the Belvini, the Caribbean Cask 14, and I think about Lever's Fork, I think they're really, really, really close. The flavors are both very elegant, complex, but not to the point to where you can't pick it out. Even if you have a relatively simple palate, you can still see where they're going with it and also be able to articulate what you're tasting, the flavors. I mean, I can tell you this, either the Leaper's Fork or the Belvini, if it was in any restaurant here in Miami, it would probably be more than a $30 pour on each one of them, without a doubt. And you probably wouldn't be upset about paying that price. If I had to say anything, the Belvini, it's not hard to find, but it's going to range somewhere between $70 and $80 all day. The Lever's Fork, of course, you can't really get it anywhere else but Tennessee, but I feel like the price point is better. So really, I would say they're really neck and neck. If you had both of them on your shelf, you'll have a hard time trying to figure out which one you want to have. I got nothing bad to say about any one of them.
So that brings up another question that you brought, because you brought price point. If you had, say you were in there you had equal amount of money for both, but you can only buy one, and they were both readily available in your specific area, which one are you buying?
Lever's Fork.
Okay. We could have just started there. I'm learning still on the fly. All right. So Mal, what do you have over there?
He just needed that. He just needed to hear that his one of his favorite bourbons was better than your favorite Scotch. he needed it, because I would have said the other thing just to piss him off. But go ahead.
Which is why we're best friends.
It's a hard argument because you're trying to compare essentially two different things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are. I agree with you. I 1,000% agree with you. And Chuck and I, the Godfather and I, had a very robust and long conversation about that very topic. Neither one of us are huge Scotch fans, and it is for me. It is the peat. I can't get past that. Where there's a lot of people.
So yeah.
Yeah. And you're right, they're not. It depends on what part of the country they come from and how they do it. So, and which is I find odd, because Irish whiskeys, I will rarely ever turn one of those down. Definitely if it's given.
Yeah,
to
that's
me.
same with me.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mal, go ahead.
So for my first and second, because I'm already on my second pour, I'm drinking the Old Forester Statesman. Absolutely love this stuff. Even though I'm not an Old Forester fan, like the original Standard 86, this stuff I really do like. I like the leather, the tobacco into the citrus of the caramel and the oak, and the finish is nice and long. It's absolutely stunning, 95 proof. I do like that. Second bottle, or my final pour will be the Jefferson's Reserve, which is the Groth cask, which is it's a French oak casks, previously used for Groth Cabernet Sauvignon, finished Jefferson's. Absolutely love this stuff. So that's going to be my final pull.
Cool. It's cool. I want to ask a follow-up question, because as you guys know, I struggled with the use of tobacco for many, many years, and had recently moved to Rogue, which is just a nicotine pouch that I freaking find fantastic. And it's been a great substitute. So the reason why I asked that question is I love the taste of tobacco. That's what had me chewing for such a long time. And the only drink I've had, and I've had the Statesman, and I may have to go buy it again just so I can see if I can pick up that note, because the only one I've gotten recently that has that strong tobacco taste is a Four Gates that Jonathan provided for me. And
I'm
it's
not
got
going
a
to say
high.
it's strong.
What's that?
I'm not going to say it's strong, but it's like a transition. So after I do get leather, I do get a leather taste from the Statesman, and it's the transition from the leather to the not necessarily the bacon spices, but to the citrus, from the leather to the citrus and the caramel. It kind of transitions through a kind of a tobacco style, or tobacco-y or tobacco-ish kind of taste. Doesn't
Nice.
last for long. It's not strong, but it's that sort of natural progression after the leather into the actual.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that is because Four Gates price point is much higher, and I can't remember which expression they have for Four Gates right now. They're available, and I think they run about 149 somewhere around there here locally, and the whatever one he provided. I've been wanting to ask him, and I forgot to last time, but the one he provided as a sample to me, I was like, man, that does have a strong tobacco taste that I find fantastic. All right, Rob.
Hey,
Welcome to the show, brother.
Rob,
thank you, sir.
Rob, I'm loving the hat, brother.
Go Nats, go O's.
There you go.
Go Nats, go O's.
Go O's.
Gotta support my team, even though they really, really are gonna suck this year. I'm putting them at about 64 wins. It's gonna be a rough year, couple of rough years for the Pirates since they got rid of all their really good players, that they did have. So tonight I am sipping on a little Stranahan sherry cask finish. This stuff is really good.
Yes, it is.
You definitely get that sherry cask on the nose when you're sipping it, but I also get a lot of oakiness in it on that initial drink as it's going down, and you get those. I'm getting some caramel. I'm getting the sweetness. It's a really good pour, but again, it's a transition for me. I was doing Buffalo Trace while I was sitting outside having dinner. I started off with a little Jefferson's chef collaboration, and this morning, a little Buffalo Trace bourbon cream in my coffee. So, this is tasting really good right now.
Absolutely.
We'll
awesome.
step up throughout the day,
Absolutely. You know, I'm gonna make kind of a bold statement. If we collectively as a group had kind of unlimited funds and we had to stock a bar, I think we would probably give anybody on the face of this planet a real run for their money. And I'm not trying to be
Yeah.
funny, but I think about, you know, what we like, what we don't like, the way we taste things, the way even our minds are open to stuff that we may not initially like, but
Except
we
Jack
can
Daniels.
still kind of profile it. I really think we would give anybody on the face of the planet a real run for their money.
You know,
I
that'd
honestly
be
do.
funny because we could do a show on that because hell, we could change the show tonight. Though I'm very interested in the topic that we have chosen. But I would like to hear what we would stock. You know, like if we took there's what 8 of us here. If we took 8 different voices and said pick your top 3 or 3 bottles you would put on the shelf, I'm curious if there would even be a Jack Daniels. You know, from this group. I'm
Now that you
serious.
said it, I mean, someone's gonna.
Well, I mean, the only person I really feel that would say it would be Mal, and
Yeah, I was about to say.
I don't think he would actually pick that as his top 3. I really don't. That's just
I
me.
can tell you, no, bro. I would not.
Yeah,
I
and
would-
so
I
that
would
would be
not have it on the
interesting
top 3.
because you know, true speakeasy shouldn't have all those marketed drinks.
No.
Like I seen my first ever Maker's Mark commercial today. I was like, well, the first one I've seen it in over a year, I should say, and it was well done. But it was just for their normal, you know, Maker's Mark, whatever that you see it every.
Is it the one with like the people on the assembly line? You see them dipping the wax
No,
and
it's
all
not.
that?
It wasn't. It was actually like almost like a story. Like you seen this guy put on some leopard slippers, and then you kind of go to this girl, and she puts on these leopard rain boots, and then they're kind of telling the story, and then you see her at the store. You see somebody at the store. You don't know who it is, and they purchase a bottle of Maker's Mark. And then ultimately that afternoon they get together and it's daughter and father and they're having their weekly drink together. And it was really good. And they both had on the leopard shoes.
Oh, okay.
That is cool. That is
So
cool.
it was like it hit you in the feels, man. You know.
It's family.
Anyway, so Marky Mark, welcome
What's
to the
up,
show,
brother?
brother.
So
What's
real
up?
quick, I changed.
I'll call you later. Yeah.
I'll call you later.
Okay, so I got a couple inboxes about some things. Let me hit this real quick. So over across my right shoulder, those are 2 synthesizers. People always ask me what those are. Those are 2 synthesizers. The little thing on top of that is a mute for my trumpet. On this side is a Oliver poster. I got that from Cigars Daily. Shout out to Tim and family there. There's a hat, my Navy hat, my Caps hat, and there's 2 books there about whiskey and cocktails. So anyway, I just want to say that real quick because I've got asked that a few times. I am sipping 107. This will,
But real quick,
Nice.
that bottle was a lot fuller earlier because I seen your picture.
yeah, well, this will probably be a bottle kill tonight.
Yeah, I would say so
Yes,
on
sir.
the consistency of your photos that were
Now,
only
the funny
taken
thing
like
is-
3 hours ago.
Yeah. I had a cigar earlier with some of this.
A lot of that.
But yeah, this bottle I have been holding on from. This bottle dates back to pre-COVID. I want to say maybe summer of 2019.
Hmm.
It was a store pick, so I was moving really slow with it. I don't remember where I picked it up because it's 2 years ago, give or take. So anyway, but thanks to one of my brothers, I got refills. I can kill
Nice.
it. Ooh, I can kill it now. But yeah, I don't need to talk about the notes. Everyone knows the notes on 107. This is probably well, I was gonna say, well, before Foolproof and the slight few that I've tasted the CYPB, this is probably the most popular Weller right here. I know green is the most affordable sometimes. Probably the most
Right.
popular. And it's even better at its proper price point. So
You're not gonna get very much argument from me on that. I really like the 107 antique. The original caster of the mule introduced me to that.
okay.
And he was right about that. That's one of 2 times he's ever been right. And but that was, am I wrong? Am I lying, David?
Lies detected.
Am I telling fake news or is this going to pass the fact checkers?
It's good. It's the fact checkers will be happy. Even Snopes will be on board.
Good to hear. But
I'm gonna say something later about that. Just wait.
We got the shiny. The shiny just came on. What the hell's going on?
yeah, he might be getting taken out. Remember, we were talking about somebody getting knifed earlier, and I think you guys were referring to me. It might be happening right now with Jeff. Anyhow,
Did I miss a conversation? Hold on. Did I miss a conversation? What happened?
well, we're not going to get into it because I don't think it's appropriate. But anyhow, we still want to stay on YouTube and also Facebook. So let's go to Corey real quick. Corey, what are you having to drink? And welcome to the show.
Unmute, Corey.
Corey, you're muted, bro.
See, this is one of those don't
You're
touch
still
my
muted,
helmet.
bro.
There you
Yeah,
go.
there you go. All right.
We good? You can hear me coming through now?
Yes.
I can.
Cool.
All that education
I'll,
from Alabama right there.
I knew there was a joke coming from that. I knew that was going to come.
You guys
So
just got
I won't-
computers last week. You know that. Mhm.
Too easy.
my God.
Hey,
There
but
went all of our
I
Southern
set
fans.
myself up. I set myself up for that, so I'll take it. I walked right into that. So I won't, I guess, harp on the first one too much because Billy kind of went over it. I was fortunate enough. A generous coworker of mine gave me a little sample of the Leaper's Fork Bottled and Bond, and
What do you think?
after I'd heard you guys kind of talk so good about it, obviously wanted to try it, and gonna finish it tonight. I would say for me, obviously, besides it's really great. Obviously, Billy kind of expanded on it in great detail. But for me, the one note, and it may just be me that pops out, is I get a good cherry flavor with it, and
I
I
can't
really
get a
like
cherry. My cherry taste bud
So-
must be broken.
it. That was kind of the first thing that came to mind when I drank it. It was like it just hit me. I don't know why, but so I really enjoy it. Definitely going to get myself a bottle of it, and then also kind of thanks to you guys, the second pour I'm going to move to is going to be the Maker's Mark, the 2020 limited release.
Where'd you find that at? Because you didn't have that last time.
Right.
No, I've had a bottle of it for a little while now that I've got back in, when was it?
Well, it
Back
came
in
out-
November, December,
yeah.
I believe.
That'd been about right. Yep.
So, but finally popped it open
That's the
yesterday for the
PR4?
first time.
Or is it the PR5?
It's it's the PR5. Yep, the 2020 release, and it's really good. I cracked it open yesterday, had a couple of pours of it. Really impressed with it. Probably
That's really, really good.
one of my favorite pours I've had in a while. I'm a pretty big vanilla fan, so obviously that was the note I was looking for in it, and definitely got it. So
All right. Jeff.
Hey,
Hey,
snuck in late.
you did.
I did. Billy, I was out there slathering your sauce all over my meat, and everybody loved putting it in their mouth.
That's what took so long.
Wow.
It
I don't,
did.
know, I don't know
it
where to go
did.
from that. See, this
Wait,
is the
let
reason
me-
why we
let me-
can't make it
hold
to
on
a
a second,
show
let me-
without this nonsense.
Let me call HBO real quick to make sure that's clear.
But,
Yeah,
you're-
we just got
but-
banned from YouTube, but
but man, I
Moving
put
down
some
the
of your Miami spice on my burgers and your steak sauce, and cooked them on the grill over some charcoal, and it was great. I'm a fan. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So tonight I snuck in. I just went ahead with one, small, old fashioned. Trying to finish up the last of the bottle I had of a Bradshaw bourbon because, had to get rid of it.
happens.
How was that?
I don't do it like that. I usually just say, "Hey, David, you want to take this with you?" He's like, "Yeah." All right, cool.
Pretty much always yes.
All right. Hey, so I want to talk about where we see the future of whiskey. I was thinking about this because I was like, bourbon. The reason why I thought about this is I had the fortunate incident to go on a mission trip to Guatemala with some great people with a university with a good mission, this, that, and whatever. I don't really want to go into all the specifics of that because they don't approve of alcohol. So, but anyhow, I did get to go. And we stayed in Antigua, and I found this local bar that was the greatest bar in the world because it had coffee and whiskey. It was called a coffee and whiskey bar. And so you could stop there in the morning and stop there 5 minutes later if you needed to get yourself hooked up. But anyway, they actually had a great selection of bourbon. And I got thinking, I was like, wow, I'm in this little place where you literally cannot flush toilet paper in the toilets because their piping is too small. So you have to put it in the waste basket, and then you have to take the waste basket out like every day. It's horrible, but at the same time, we stay in a really nice place. You kind of get used to it, but it doesn't make it any better, that part. But having this whiskey bar that was right down the road, whiskey and coffee bar, I'm sorry, was really cool. But it got me thinking, I'm in a place where, for all essential purposes, I'm in a third world country, and where they're having a lot of problems, this, that, and whatever, but I can get a nice pour. And I was shocked by that. And I was like, wow, the reach of it for whiskey is just going everywhere. So I got thinking, I was like, we're looking at putting astronauts on the moon in a few years, maybe on Mars in a few more years. Do you think any of them will take, with the approval of NASA, and of course, like that, if they ever get the opportunity, would they take whiskey with them? Or better yet, Elon Musk, this could be me planning this whole thing out right now, and this is my trademark, putting whiskey into a rocket, sending it into orbit, letting it orbit for a couple of years, as like with a satellite, and then selling that for outrageous amount of money.
Is this like the Jefferson's ocean aged?
Yeah.
Instead, it's like space aged.
Yeah.
Like, is that?
It's kind of like the Space Force.
So Jody, let me get this straight. You think the guy that shot a car into space with the mannequin at the helm for the hell of it would want to like shoot whiskey into space?
I don't see why not.
Hey Jeff,
Yeah.
I'll bet you money that there's been whiskey already in space. I will bet money.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
there has.
Elon Musk and Tesla already have their own brand of whiskey.
Yeah,
Because I posted it in the VIP last year sometime.
and it's quite expensive, and I'm not sure how good it is.
It's ridiculously expensive. The bottle's cool though. It looks like
Tesla tequila. That's a tequila.
Oh, that's tequila.
Tequila, yeah.
Was it a tequila?
it
was it?
tequila.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It is
Good shout, Rob. I remember that now.
expensive. I saw some guy on Bourbon trying to sell them for 3 bottles for $700 a bottle. I'm like, what?
It's like a lightning bolt bottle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you
No, you're
do
right,
know
Rob.
that soon after the first load of any intoxicating spirit hits space, 9 months later will be the first space-oriented fraternity suit.
I have some folks at NASA. I'll see if they know, if they can tell if any's made it up to, because I would bet money that there's been whiskey up there, and I would bet money that, because there's always at least one scientist on board. One person.
Oh yeah.
There's always at least one that's strictly about science. There's one that has a medical background, and there's some that have a IT engineering background. Their teams are always structured that way. And I would not be surprised if there was, okay, you're going to get drunk and I'm going to document your drunkenness. I'd volunteer for that.
Being drunk in space?
Yeah.
I would volunteer for that.
That would probably be awesome all by itself.
With no gravity? Oh man, I would.
But don't you get like a lot of them get like nausea when you go weightless? Like just automatically, just from being
We don't
weightless.
need all the schematics.
All the stuff in your stomach's already floating around, and then you're going to get drunk on top of it. Like
Maybe they could ID it.
Halfway there already.
I guess if you've been there for, you've been doing it for a little while, like you probably, that part would settle down and then be like, okay, what's next? Let's get drunk and see what happens.
Well, the Russians have done it at the Space Center.
Oh, for sure.
They were
like those guys didn't bring vodka to space. Are you kidding me?
absolutely.
Like the early cosmonauts, like they didn't want those guys to come back. Like they were doing it for Mother Russia. Like, I bet you better believe I'm taking some
just in case of a
some
problem.
vodka with me up
There
here.
you go. Yeah.
Yeah, but I really
Ferment
do
some
feel
potatoes or whatever.
the future of whiskey and bourbon, I believe it has a deep future. I don't believe it's a fad. As anybody can remember, a few years back, vodkas and tequilas was like the big thing. When I started drinking bourbon and whiskey, it wasn't, I'm not that old, but I can remember when Poppy was almost a walk past. I can remember when Pappy was somewhere in the $40, $50 range, and it wasn't hard to get. I can remember my grandfather having it, So I do believe now that whiskey and bourbon is not just a fad. I believe there's too much money too much science and too much history behind it now.
It's an absolute new resurgence. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and not only that, but the big companies and even some of the small ones realize that they have the consumers who have the income to support it. So it's not like, well,
sure.
I mean,
I
listen,
think I read somewhere there's over 350 craft distilleries in the States now.
That's what I was getting ready to say, is that I don't see it being so much more advantageous for the history ones, the ones, the BTACs, the Buffalo Trace, Heaven Hill, so on and so on. Woodford, I don't know that I see it so much there. I actually see it, the biggest growth, as we've already seen, but I think it's going to expound the market tremendously, is the MGP sourcing it, because you're getting aged bottles to these craft distilleries, and also the blended market. I think it's going to go up.
It's not going to be long before, and I believe it's already starting to happen, in that these craft distilleries are going to be accepted into the fold of the historical distillers. So it's already starting to happen with the likes of New Riff, Wilderness Trail, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's already starting to happen now.
Yeah.
So
I've got.
it's going to
Did
continue,
Mark
I think.
send us the article? It was in the chat about Bro Brothers getting brought into the Kentucky Bourbon Society.
I think that was me.
There's only 45 distillers in there, and that's a pretty big move for a small distiller like
that
them.
Was me, dude. Possibly could have been
credit to Mal. That's all good.
No, it's and Wilderness Trail as well. Wilderness Trail are now on the.
We know who would be the one who would claim copyright from this group. Like, it was me, man. It was me.
No, I'm just trying. I'm trying to think out loud.
I want credit now.
No, I'm not doing it for credit, dude. I'm thinking out loud.
He's like, you Americans have stolen everything else from me.
You guys have freedom.
I'll go back on mute. I'll go back on mute.
I'm playing with you, Mal.
I've got two takeaways on a couple things we're saying. One is the history. The more that you study the history of intoxicating spirits, the distilled spirit that has the longest history would be a form of whiskey.
Right.
You look at what was going on with the Scotch, the Irish, in those areas. They really started developing the science of, and so you look at all of them. Whiskeys have some of the longest history of distilled spirits, and it's going to be hard to ever see that going away. The history of it, you see it kind of going in circles. Yes, there are periods where whiskey falls by the wayside, is the spirit, but it almost always comes back around. And I don't see that part changing.
Yeah.
Like
totally.
what? Yeah.
So, but I got a question about that. Do you think, maybe this would be better posed to the Godfather? Do we think there will ever be, because we just seen recently a 20-year bourbon with Eagle Rare? Do we think there's going to be competing in the market for, like, when you're talking about the Balvenis and the other scotches that are out there where they have these 50 and 64-year and so on and so on? Do we think there's going to be a 64-year-old bourbon? And is that even appropriate for a bourbon?
Good question. I don't know if I would imagine there's already been some out there, one-offs here and there,
Right.
probably in the price range of $45,000 to $50,000 a bottle. And I believe Costco did recently, maybe within the last 2 years, put one out in their glass shelf. Mark, knows that in DC, they have the glass case, and they'll usually have some very, very expensive stuff in there. But I don't know if it's going to become a big thing as far as that much age statement, because I think you can overdo it once it gets to a certain point.
Yeah. Which kind of takes us back to a conversation that you and I had, Chuck, which was, we were talking about the perfect aging for bourbon. And I think this kind of goes with where I think where I kind of hope bourbon goes to is that they find that perfect maturation date where it's 10 years, or if it happens to be 12 years or whatever. And that becomes the new price point that's set, because 4-year is definitely solid. It's a bourbon, whatever, you know, it's good. But I would challenge almost anybody to say that, you know, if available, and I've said this numerous times on the show, and like I said, you and I talked about it ad nauseum the other day. If Eagle Rare was available everywhere for the price point that it's supposed to be at MSRP everywhere, that's a perfect age bourbon. It's 10 years. It
Eagle
tastes
Rare
good.
17.
What's that? No, I'm talking about the 10 year.
Okay.
Just a regular Eagle Rare is the perfect
Okay.
age bourbon, but it's just, you can't always find it. Definitely here, you can't find it always. You can't find it everywhere all the time.
But age is not an automatic indicator.
No, I agree.
There's too many. So Jay Cooper and I, yesterday, we visited a small craft distiller. And this kind of ties in with the idea that the future of innovation is going to be in the craft distillers. They're outside of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, kind of in a little triangle area between Hopkinsville and Fort Campbell, Kentucky, or that area. It's called MB Roland Distillers.
Mm-hmm.
Very small. Been open about 12 years. They bought an old Amish farm and turned all the barns into their distillery and their rick houses. Just a neat, beautiful place. But the love that they're putting into their craft is bringing out some just amazing bourbons and
Fabulous,
moonshines and stuff. One of them that they did, they smoke their corn. And so one of their bourbons, they do 31% smoked corn, and then about another 30% of unsmoked corn. There was something like the rest was rye and small pound of barley.
So they're getting their age from the smoke.
Well,
is what they're hoping to do.
Well, the interesting thing is they also have that same mash bill where they don't do any smoked corn. And it's fascinating tasting the two side by side. They bring very different flavor profiles out, but neither one of them are more than like a 2.5-year-old age statement. And if somebody gave it to you and didn't tell you the age statement, you would never guess that it was that young.
Disagree with you. I have not found very many young bourbons that I can't pick out as being young.
But maybe you need to try these then, is what it sounds like.
I would have.
And Jody, otherwise I would agree with you, to be honest. I'm sorry to interject, because like when you taste a young whiskey, you're like, yeah, that's definitely young. And I think, from my own little interjection opinion, I think the future of whiskey is trying to find ways to game,
that simulated age.
To find ways to actually make it taste like it is older than what it really is. I think up to this point, but
they're not doing anything with that. They're aging it normally. But something about the product that they're distilling and putting in those barrels, or how they're storing it in those old barns, or any number of things, they are coming out with a product that, even though it's as young as it has got an amazing flavor profile. And I see that same kind of. I think that's where a lot of the innovation is going to come from. The big guys, they've got what they do, and it's kind of hard for them to do something different because they're so invested in what is working for them. And these young, newer craft distillers, they're the ones that are playing with things and coming up with some very interesting things. Anybody that's in that area of Western Kentucky needs to do themselves a favor and stop by and check out this MB Roland, and at the same time, don't discount a small distillery just because you haven't heard from them. Try them out, check them out. They're doing some interesting things.
Well, I mean, that's a lot like Leaper's Fork. Leaper's Fork, I didn't even know it exists until I had no idea until I tried their bottle and
6
bond.
months ago, right?
Yeah, and that was 6 months ago. So I mean, I'm with you on that aspect. I think what you're missing is that in the conversation that David was making and that I was conceding to agree with was they're using methods in their practical, which let me put it differently, they're using methodologies to give that age appropriate taste by manipulating portions of the mash bill. And I think that's kind of cool if it works. The problem is that, you know, I can name two bourbons that I find to be okay that are young. And one of them is Daddy Rack.
Mhm.
That's a pretty solid young whiskey. And the other one I don't have down here, but is the Axon Oak. That was solid young whiskey.
Yeah, and you know, to kind of follow what Chuck was saying, and you too, Jody, I think anything between 7 and like a 20 year is going to be right where a lot of people are going to find stuff that they like. Also, being within those numbers, I think you find a crowd who can afford the product. You know, like Chuck was saying, if you get a product that's 64 years old, that price point is going to be so high that the number of consumers who can afford that is going to be so little. You know, but almost anybody can afford a bottle of Eagle Rare if you can find it. You know, almost anybody can afford a bottle of, you know, Buffalo Trace, you know, which is not hard to find. But how would we feel if 3 years from now they tell you Buffalo Trace is allocated? You know,
Well, I think it will be
But
allocated.
it was allocated here until last
Yeah.
year.
so
It's allocated here.
yeah, I mean, and
You only
that's,
find it every so often in Tennessee. It's every once in a while you can see it.
and see the thing over
Come to
here,
Murfreesboro, man. You can find it pretty readily here. Still not allocated. But
here in Miami, it's sitting on the shelf with dust on it. I kid you not, it really is.
Yeah.
So, but again, you know, I don't care how much money I had. I'm not spending $20,000 on a bottle. I'm not doing it. I don't care
Yeah.
if I got 10 mil in the bank. I'm still not doing it. And you know, when it
Mm.
comes to the new stuff that's being manipulated to taste a certain way, maybe it's not the best analogy in the world, but listen, we all know cars from the 60s and the 70s and the 50s are awesome. I don't care what kind of technology you have, nobody's going to feel like that new technology is better than those cars from that era. And let's face it, cars from that era are better than these cars that we have now. Let's face it, the cars we have now, they're throwaways. They're like cell phones to the point to where there's a new model every 3 years.
or less.
But
Yeah.
listen, who's going to ever be mad at a 67 Chevy Bel Air? Who's going to be mad at that? You know, who's going to be mad at a three-window Corvette?
Last couple of years, vinyl has made a comeback for your music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, you've got all this technology and, you know, they're cleaning
Sure.
up your music and all the rest of it. But yeah, you would rather listen to the old music on vinyl because it's how it was supposed to be heard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's people that
And then,
insist
yeah.
there's a warmthness to
Well, yeah, I was
listening
gonna
to
say,
a record on vinyl that you miss.
I love it.
You know, in like an
Absolutely
MP3
love it.
format. So, and there's some actual science to that. That sort of
Yeah.
like, you know, data wise, that it's reduced down to
Well,
more of its surface level.
Well,
and all that.
no,
this
that's
is
Nothing about
something,
what I
this is
can do.
something Chuck and I can talk
That's the
about
thing.
because
That's
it's
the
real to
feel
real.
of the car as well.
It's real to real recordings, and
Recording, yeah.
it's that analog sound that has that deep,
Mhm.
warm sound that you don't get.
Yeah.
Nothing beats
with-
analog.
with-
It's the same. It's the same with the cars. Like
That's the
like
reason why
as
when you
David
look for
said,
those
it can
what is
sound
it,
and
8
feel
inch?
too clear.
Yeah, you get those 8 inch reel to reel recorders, and definitely the sound, the consoles that go with them. They're selling in the aftermarket right now, or in secondary, I guess we should say, because they stopped making the tape. The tape is
Yeah.
ungodly expensive if you can find it, but the consoles alone are going for like 80 grand, and
Mm.
you know, for those you know, those type of warmth, because you're not going to find it. That is how Led Zeppelin recorded. That's how, you
Yeah.
know, Pink Floyd, so all these other bands that you may or may not
It's how
dig.
it should be listened to.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Simple as.
absolutely. And listen, not
Other
to
than
get too
live,
far
which-
off, but listen, if
Mm.
you ever listen to Marty Waters on vinyl,
Yeah.
you
Mhm.
know, Coltrane on vinyl, I don't care if you listen to someone as early as Bob Marley and the Wailers on vinyl, there's nothing like it, you know, and they're still producing Bob Marley and the Wailers on CD, like randomly. It's always available. So, you know, even with the new stuff that's coming out, if you're a fan of bourbon, I don't think you're gonna ever be mad at an Eagle Rare. And
No.
we know what it is. And these guys
So-
know what it takes to get that Eagle Rare. I don't see them sacrificing that. And I don't see this new stuff ever overtaking an Eagle
So-
Rare.
So here's the thing. To go into that analogy of the old music. This the concept of a 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 15-year-old bourbon, that's actually a very new concept. You want to get old school, you want to go back to the 1800s when bourbon was being developed. They didn't have bourbons that were that old. 4 years old was old for a bourbon back then. So in some ways, a lot of these newer craft distillers are a little bit more old school than a lot of the big name brand ones that are aging.
That's interesting.
So again, I go back to, as a consumer, I agree. In general, I find that I like older aged bourbons as a general rule. And I have been guilty of being leery of trying young bourbons because I agree. A lot of times a young bourbon tastes young. The bourbon world kind of goes gaga for new riff. I taste
We talked
new
about
riff.
that being one of the most overrated last week.
Yeah. And again, part of why I think it's a little overrated is because I think that before it really develops the flavor profiles that I can taste are there, I think it needs more time. But
I'm like that with Redemption. Everybody talks about how great Redemption is, and I'm like, oh my god, that tastes so young to me. Needs about another 6 years in the barrel.
yeah,
It's just how I feel.
and
I'm
right,
interested to
but
see
but
what-
I go
what Ross
back
thinks.
to like I was
They
talking
have a
about this
10-year.
one that Jay and I visited, and I have to admit, when I saw that it was kind of young, I was a little leery. But when I sampled it, when I tasted it, I was amazed. And the guy doing the tour was talking about how it isn't necessarily about the age, it's about the flavor. And if the flavor is there, if the profile is there, enjoy it. Don't necessarily get hung up on just the number on the bottle.
Yeah, but you
Take
can
it.
sometimes though that taste of the age, and I'm willing to I mean, I'm willing to bet that the majority of us would agree with this. There's a certain, it's not the number per se, it's the taste that you get from an aged bourbon that has that
absolutely.
you can bring out those whatever you can bring out those charcoals or the way they roasted the barrel. You can bring out those, which a lot of times is what you taste as vanilla and so on and so on. And
even the wood that the barrel's made out of and
Yes,
how long
yes.
that's been dried out, whether
Yeah.
it's been artificially dried or whether it's been naturally dried, the length of time it's took to dry, you can taste all that.
yeah,
That's where you get a lot of the green apple stuff from.
yeah, and that's
But
go ahead.
I would love
But
to hear
here's a-
Rob's take on age statement and the young stuff.
here's a
Let,
question I
let
have
Jeff
about
finish it,
that.
then let's go to Rob.
Okay.
Here's a question I have about that. How much of that is because of what a lot of the bigger distilleries have to do to mass produce it? When you have a small place like this MB Roland that are doing small batches where they can take the time to craft what they're doing, they somehow have ability to produce a distillate that produces the flavors we like with the lower age than when you have a Buffalo Trace having to mass produce a Eagle Rare, and so it needs more time. That's a big question that I have. I don't know the answer. I'm just kind of wondering.
Okay. Rob, talk to us, brother.
I kind of fall in the. I've drank a lot of the local. Weigel is here in Pittsburgh where I live, and they're distributing PA, and they're starting to get some. Early on, I was not a fan of, and they're a very small producers. What I think the smaller guys tend to push product out that because they want to get a name out there. And sometimes it tends to be a little harsh. Like maybe you found this MB Rowland, you found this product that's really good. I don't know how few and far between those type distillers are.
I think that's fair.
That's a very good question. Very good question.
It's finding somebody who's able to do it now. And I think Chuck had asked me about this. Weigel's just released a 6 or 7-year-old rye that came out. I don't know if it was a rye or a bourbon that I've got some running around to do tomorrow. So I'm going to go hit their facility in downtown Pittsburgh and see if they've got any in stock and see what that's like.
Bob, was that a cask strength you were referring to with that Weigel?
I don't remember, Chuck.
Okay.
They've had. I think the other thing too that a lot of the startup craft distillers tend to do is they put out a bunch of other product that they can put out. Weigel's got they put out a vodka, they put out a rum, they put out like 3 or 4 Genevers that they were making just
good?
to get a name and product out there because there's not really any aging to do with a gin or with a vodka or with a rum necessarily. They're not barrel aging a rum. So they're rushing some of those products out to get a name out there. They may not be the greatest. Actually, I think they've won a few things for their gins. I'm not a gin guy, so I don't. Right. Stuff makes me nuts.
What I find interesting is a lot of these craft distilleries that do that. They try to do several products. To me, it's like I get it. I can't knock your business model, but if you say you want to be a bourbon / whiskey company, but you're pushing gin and vodka and rum, cool. But I don't know too many of those places as example, especially with rum. Now, rum, I can tell you, I've had a lot of these places that say, well, we're a craft distillery, we're going to have rum. And I taste the rum just tastes like ethanol with 2 drops of cane sugar in it. Like,
so what's your year on rum?
Dosed ethanol. Yeah.
What's your year on rum though? Because like I have found that certain rums for me, Chuck and I were talking about this the other night too. We had a very lengthy conversation. So, but I talked to him about rum as well. And there's a certain specific year for me. So what is it for you? I mean, you definitely of the group here probably know rum better than anyone here outside of probably David. What is the year state?
No, I defer to Mark on all things rum.
Well,
I just want to put that out there, but yeah, I'm very much an enthusiast as well.
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know that I have a year with rum. For me, it's more about proofing.
Okay.
Because
that brings up an interesting aspect we can segue to, but we're running out of time with. I do want to do this. I want to hit.
This could be like several conversations.
It could. We could lead on to this. So what I want to do is I'm going to start here with Billy, and then I'm going to go to Chuck next. But I want to ask if this is our bar, we're starting up a bar because I want to hit both things. Top 3 whiskeys or whatever drinks that you want to have in our bar. What would it be, Billy?
Lever's Fork, the Belvini 14 Eagle Rare.
Okay. Chuck.
Okay, I'm going to go with. I'm going to have to go with something from the BTAC collection. I'll say the William LaRue Weller.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice.
Maybe it could be a 2020. It could be as far back as 2002.
Yes, Lord.
My next one would be this one here.
I'm gonna have to find that, to be honest with you.
I'm mad I didn't buy it now.
I've been pushed that too and didn't buy it.
Yep.
And then my third choice would be, I'm going to go something lower shelf with that. I'm going to say Old Forester 1920.
I like that. Mao, what about you?
For me, I'm just I'm looking at the bottles that I've got and realised that the top three I was going to pick all come out of Buffalo Trace, so I'm going to try and avoid that. I'm going to go Blanton's. I'm going to go something from Mitters, and I'm probably going to go
Baumburger.
Long Branch.
Long Branch.
Nice,
Baumburger.
nice choice, Mel.
Right, okay, so Blanton's Gold, Baumburger, Long Branch.
I like
So
those.
hitting all those kind of different levels.
I like it.
I like that.
David, what about you?
I'm gonna go with Smoke Wagon Uncut Unfiltered. And then forgive me if I'm mispronouncing it. Cragganmore 12 year is a Scotch, and Zafra 21 for the rum.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Corey.
I'd probably say OWA, probably for sure the one I'd have. Just a Blanton single barrel, and then I'll say I'll go with an Elijah Craig barrel proof.
Which one? Do you know which barrel it's from? Because there is a barrel that I like, it's 138.2, and that is a solid pick for a barrel proof.
So the one, my favorite one's the B520. That's the
Okay.
one, if I could pick, that's the one I'd stock it with.
Nice. Jeff.
All right. So if we're Stark in a bar, and so we want consistency, we want something we have there. I'm going to go for a well pour. I would go with an Evan Williams bottled and bond.
Good choice.
I would go mid grade. I would probably go with just the standard Elijah Craig. And then for the higher tier, I'm probably to me, I'm kind of in opposite Chuck. The 1920 Old Forester to me would be the higher end that I would stick on. This is something I know I could get all the time and keep on the bar and be consistent as a higher end.
I can agree with that. And I should probably preface this a little bit differently. When I said this, we are making a bar that's, and you wasn't here for part of that conversation, but we're making a bar that's more of like a true speakeasy. Like these are our picks.
Right.
So, but again, I still stick with what I say, because even though you have people come in with the speakeasy, a good majority of people are looking for the same thing every time they come in. So you need stuff you can have consistent
staples. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, Rob.
Okay.
Lots. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at my bottles. I'm going, what's going to be easy for us to keep? What's going to be easy for us to? So, and to kind of follow Jeff's cue. So for a well, I'm going to look for something that's going to be a simple mixer, old overhaul, bottle and bond. It's relative for a rye. It's great in cocktails. It's really good just by itself. Kind of middle of the road. I'm liking any of them if you can get the Maker's Mark, the new one, or the SEA PR5, like Corey's drinking tonight. I think those kinds of releases are a good middle. And personally, I really enjoyed Blood Oath, and I've got pack 6. I'm sitting here staring at, thinking about cracking that later to finish my night off with a little cognac cask finish bourbon. I'm gonna go sit outside and light my pipe up and have a little smoke.
Nice. Mark.
Okay, so several that I was thinking about have been selected, so I'm great to hear that. So I would go first. I would go Heaven Hill 7 BIB. Yes, Lord. I would go. I would go one small Brickway out of Omaha, Nebraska. They have a sherry cask malt whiskey. Oh, it's so damn good. I would definitely get that. And that would be the one at the speakeasy that say, you had what? From where? So I definitely would do that. And I think the final would be Stag Junior.
Nice.
I dig it. And so I was thinking about that. And of course, you guys, with the exception of Jeff, pretty much named all the ones that I would pick as well. Only because I'm not thinking of like a Logan's. I'm thinking of like a true speakeasy.
But
But
you like Logan's.
What's that?
You like Logan's.
I used to like Logan's until they
Yeah.
changed their menu, and it's because I mean that's where we were supposed to meet that first time.
I remember. Yeah, that's what it was making me think of.
Is Logan's peanuts on the floor with the good bit?
Yeah, you eat the peanuts and
Yeah.
you throw the shells on the floor.
Yeah.
Like
which
the
they
servers
stopped doing
gotta
that
throw it
too.
for
You can't. You're not supposed to throw them on the floor. They give you a plate for them now.
They
And
have-
it's like,
Actually, Logan's as a corporation does not exist anymore.
Oh, shit.
that might be the reason why I don't like it anymore.
some
Um,
wild
yeah,
tangents here, but yeah, I'm learning stuff too, so it's okay.
All right. So for me, if I was looking at this from a perspective of like, and I was going to take the perspective that that Jeff took, my well drink is going to be Blue Note, and it's going to be Blue Note 9 year. That's because I want to keep our local Tennessee, I guess avenue open and support those local industries. So that would be on the low end. Now, I'll be honest with you, I would rather it be Leaper Sport, but we've already talked about that. Billy mentioned that right out the gate. I think my number 2, I want to go with a blended, either a Manningly or a Bardstown, their new Fusion series or something like that. That would be something that I would find interesting, that would have some complexities that people could pick up and go, that's kind of neat, whether it was the Manningleys or it was whomever it is. I really liked some of the, again, me and the Godfather talked about this at ad nauseum. I liked some of the other night we were on the call, but I liked some of the blended bourbons that are being produced. They have a really neat discussion piece. So, and like I had one of the fusions tonight. I had the Bardstown Fusion series, and this right here is just the 98.9, and this right here, it has I don't know if you ever tried it, but it has a very interesting taste profile to it.
I
You
didn't
almost,
care for it at all.
what's that?
I didn't care for it at all.
You didn't? Okay, well, Rob has
Gave
spoken.
that bottle away.
Gandalf has spoken. Jesus, what a pipe.
Look at that, sitting there puffing on
Holy
it.
But then my final one, I would absolutely go with a BTAC, and it was a tough one for me because the GTS, any of them, and that would include the 19. Everybody talks smack about the 19, and I'm like, man, it makes no sense. If you're a proof whore, then I understand. But if you're one of those people who like to taste the complexities that are within the bourbon, then the 19 honestly is the one you should buy. If you really like taste, in my opinion, the 19 is where it should be. But the 20, if I had to pick one, I'd pick probably the 20, or my preference would be the Eagle Rare 17 if available, and I could have it on hand at all times. So that would be what I would have. So guys, any alibis before we call it a night on our live recording show?
I'm hungry.
You are always.
Mark, I'm hungry too, man.
Damn it, I'm hungry.
I'm gonna have some leftover.
I can tell you, I'm not hungry. Hopefully, you guys had a wonderful Easter. I had a ginormous meal, and I have felt fat since about 1:45. Like I felt like I can't. Like I had to lay down for a little while. I fell asleep in a chair talking to my mom. I love her to death, but as she's gotten older, sometimes conversation puts me to sleep. Maybe it's me. It's gotten older.
I felt fat for the last 14 months, dude.
I'm gonna tell her you said that.
Well, she watches the show, so she'll call me in the morning, or she'll call me Tuesday morning and be like, "So I put you to sleep," and I'm like, "You were there."
She knows what happened.
Yeah, she was there.
So I put
There's
you
no
to
point in
sleep,
lying
and
about it.
Jody's response will be,
So, but I was comfortable. Me and my little dog were just cuddled up and having a good time.
Mm.
Also, as an alibi, I do want to, when I was talking to the Godfather 2 nights ago, because I had most of you guys know I suffer from migraines, and sometimes I am very incapacitated at times. David's had host shows because of those incapacitations sometimes, but
Does happen.
yep.
Sure.
So, but when I was talking to the Godfather, he has a mission that he does with trying to work with saving some of the fostering of animals and stuff like that. Chuck, I want to give you a few minutes to plug that, or a few seconds, or whatever you need, because I think that's a big deal. And as a pet owner, I shouldn't say as a family member owner of 4-legged family members, I think that that's a ginormous thing, and I would like for you to take a second or two to.
Thank you.
We don't own them; they own us, dude.
Oh
That's
man,
true.
if you
That's
met my
very
dog,
true.
you would absolutely know that. But anyway, go ahead, Chuck.
Mhm.
Thanks, Judy. Yeah, basically we do fostering, we do transport. You know, my wife and my entire family, my two daughters included, we do, you know, that for a group called It Takes a Village Animal Rescue,
Mhm.
Middletown, Delaware. We foster some of the dogs, puppies. All the basically the tough cases that you know, basically some of the dogs from, say, South Carolina, North Carolina, the ones that only have hours to live, maybe minutes, where we can go in and make a phone call and, you know, make things happen to where they're not put to sleep. And then we bring them home and rehabilitate them.
I dig it. As a person that had to actually put a dog, and quite honestly, my best friend had to put him down after several years of. He actually was killed by the Kroger food recall in 2010, dog food recall. There was some bacteria in the dog food, and it killed my police dog first, and then who I was able to keep, and then. I mean, I kept him after I left the police force, but killed him a week before Christmas. So you can imagine how rough that was. And that's how I ended up, David, with Ava. Was right after that, one of my buddies from the military base up in Fort Campbell was like, "Hey, we train dogs all the time. I have a puppy that you might want," and she was a nut job. And he didn't tell me that part. So that might have been the reason why I got such a great deal for her. But she was a wonderful dog. And then but it killed Buddy, my police dog, and then my lab Hunter, who I'd had for 13 years, it killed him. But because he was on steroids for something else already, he had already had other ailments, you know, being an older lab. It waited till about 3 days before my birthday and in January, and it killed him. So, but it had already, what it was some type of bacteria that was in some of their, I forget which dog food line it was. And it probably isn't important now because we probably had to sign some type of agreement when we had a class action lawsuit against them.
I would imagine you did.
You guys, I mean, this is, I'm sorry I have to interject because this is hitting way too close to home. My dog was diagnosed with a brain tumor a couple of days ago, and she's gone blind a couple of days ago. And like, I'm like, it's in the, like, I'm laying up recovering from back surgery. My dog just lays in the bed with me all day. She's gone blind. Like, she's on a pretty quick decline and stuff like that. And just talking about all this, like, I was going to get through this. It was going to be a fun, positive experience or whatever. But like, I'm getting all the feels right now. No, it was great show. It was really great, you know, getting to do this and do with all you guys, but like so much feels right now for my sweet girl Cindy, because she's about 13 and like she's got a brain tumor, and you know it's not gonna be too long, and it is really damn hard right now. So I was just gonna share that.
It typically is, yeah, absolutely. Raise a glass to that, but it typically is. But I think the point is that where I want to go with that is Is somebody got a hailstorm going on?
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah, that's me. So I'll go.
Okay.
Oh,
I was like, what the hell's going on? We're having a sensitive moment. I'm trying to work on my empathy here.
It's all right.
But no, it really is a real point that just because we're dudes that like bourbon and when I talk about it and stuff like that, we're also people who have other missions going on in our lives and we're involved in. And you know, the reason why I wanted to bring Chuck up about it is because in the VIP chat, that's honestly how he and I became closer friends, because we have dog, like we love dogs and we'll post
breaks
pictures.
the monotony in here too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's always bourbon, food, more food, bourbon, some more food. And then all of a sudden it was like, I posted a picture of my dog, I think the first time. And then like Chuck posted a picture of his dog. And then it was like, then Mal posted a picture of his dog, and then David, and then so on and so on. We're all posting pictures of our dogs. And they may be dogs in classification, but they're, I mean, if you think about it, they've been there a lot of times sitting beside you when you're having a drink, you know, or
Sure.
or whatever, and they're hanging out with you, and you're sitting there going, and their personalities. Like my dog is the literal miniature version of Fat Bastard. Like he can smell food from a, you know,
Get my belly.
yeah, he can smell food from a block away, and he's like, we eating? I'm like, I'm not even holding anything. Like, you can't have almonds and or whatever it might be, you know? And he's like, but can I chance it? I'm like, no, you can't. That's not how it works, you know?
Someone could break into my house. My dog would sleep, but open the cheese wrapper, and he's there faster than the flash.
Yeah,
Shit you not.
so true, so
I
true.
shit you not.
But that's what
my
makes it
nickname.
fun.
My nickname for him is Numbnuts. He's insane. He really is.
Well, I have
He's
two. I have
awesome.
two
I love him to bits.
Cleek I have two Cleek and one is, his name is Little Chief Murphy, and
Mhm.
or AKA Fat Bastard. And then I have Mr. Winston, who is a white Cleek, and he acts like Bam Bam from the Flintstones. Like he carries his bone around, and like he'll just drop it on the hardwood floor. It's like boom, and he's like, and he looks at you like Bam Bam. So they are family members, you know. So, and there goes that bottle. I knew it was going to happen.
Mark. There it is.
But guys, of the recording, I truly appreciate everybody being here. We're going to stick around for a few minutes of the after show, but awesome time with all you guys.
One quick thing before we sign off, I do want to say thank you to everybody on the show for being so supportive of my business, of the barbecue sauce.
However, you did say you didn't like me earlier.
I still don't, but it's okay.
Okay, make sure we're clear on that.
It's
All right.
okay, you know.
Nice.
But no, listen,
He loves you, but he loves you, but he doesn't like you.
Yeah,
There's a
there you
difference.
go. I want to kind of raise a glass to all of us as individuals, different opinions, different backgrounds, but coming together as a team that I absolutely love. I love that about us.
And you
I am
show up
so
early
happy
too.
that- There you go. I absolutely love the fact that
You're either early or you're late, man. Pick one.
I love the fact that Godfather joined us. Makes everything
Yeah,
so
man,
much
Chuck,
better.
great to meet you, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, good meeting you, dude.
But I want to say in regards to that, anybody watching this, you need to go and buy Billy's sauces. I just got it this week. I tried it for the first time. Top notch. The Miami spice rub, amazing seasoning. The steak sauce is amazing. I've still got his barbecues to try, but after that steak sauce, man,
and listen,
top notch. Go out and get it.
That honey mustard. The honey mustard.
I need to get
man,
I need to get into that
honestly,
rub next. I need to order some.
Even though I don't personally own a dog, I am 100% behind Chuck and his organization, and I'm happy to be a sponsor and helping raise money for that organization. Chuck, we really appreciate that.
Thanks, Billy. We appreciate what you do for us, honestly.
Well, guys, with all of that being said, Mao, love you all. Peace out.
Love you guys.
Have a wonderful night.
All right.
Peace and blessings.